a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straight in the curve.
All right, here we are once again, back in the garage. Thanks for coming. Again, here with Michael Matt, one of our veteran moderators, to come and talk about the next argument of the month. And by the way, the next argument of the month will be a smoker event. We'll have great cigars outside. We'll have a tent set up there on the north side of the church on the lawn, where we'll also be smoking and grilling all our great and delicious food. We'll have jerk chicken and some pulled pork. And all kinds of great appetizers. We'll have nachos and salsa.
Oh,
we'll have it outside.
It's going to be good.
And of course, great beer and all kinds of other drinks for everybody to enjoy with their cigars sitting outside.
This is the last event of the year, huh?
Last event of the year, yep. And don't worry about if it's even sprinkling a little bit. I looked at the weather report. It's supposed to be partly sunny that day, but
we got a tent.
We got a tent. Yeah. So, and we usually have a fire going outside. We have a couple of fire pits going. Yeah. So in case it's a little breezy, a little cool, you can stand around the fire. So
it's my favorite event of the year.
It is.
The last one. It's fun. It's fun.
And you know, it's like we always try saving the most dramatic, theatrical, controversial type of topic for the end of the year. Kind of go out with a nice bang. And so, you know, it's kind of hard to even begin because it's almost a continuation from January.
From January, exactly.
It's like
is the church in crisis?
Yeah, and now it's even more crazy.
Yeah,
it's like, and it's not even just the church now that we're dealing with. Christians have to deal with, Catholics have to deal with. It's just our culture and what's going on in politics. Here we've got the U.S. Supreme Court, you know, forcing Catholics to accept homosexual marriage. I shouldn't say they have yet, but they're deliberating on this. You know, Catholic schools. We've seen Catholic schools all over the country being sued for not accepting homosexual lifestyles of you know, people that work at those institutions.
Yeah.
That was our last year. Our May event talked about that exact topic.
At the schools, yeah.
Exactly. And then we see across the country, like in Indiana, we're seeing Christian businesses forced to violate their conscience or close their doors. We got Christian parents being accused of hate crimes for upholding Catholic principles, you know, and on and on and on. It's getting like
the rubber is hitting the road here.
The end of the world as we know it, as the song goes. You know, it's like, wow. It's, you know, with this all going on, you know, where does it end? I mean, that's why we have the title, you know, Catholic man, public enemy number one. Is that where it's going? Just like it did in Mexico in the 1920s. You know, we have another Christian persecution going on here. Is that where it's going to end? Where you can't even profess your faith? Where, you know, Catholic priests, are they going to, you know, if the Supreme Court forces, you know, everybody to accept homosexual marriages, what happens if you get a gay couple that goes in and says, Father, want you to remarry us.
That's never going to happen. They told us.
Never mind.
This is America. That'll never happen. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's getting so crazy.
If the Supreme Court goes the wrong way, and who knows? I got some friends who are quite optimistic that Kennedy and even Breyer are going to go the right way on this, because they know if they vote the wrong way, it is over. The Catholic Church, the Christian churches in America are toast if that happens. There will be no way that our good friend Father Eckert will be able to say to a gay couple, no, I'm sorry, it's going to violate my conscience to marry you. I can't do the wedding. He won't be able to do it. If the Supreme Court, I think their judgment is going to be in June, so it's coming right up if they go the wrong way. Personally, I think they're going to go the wrong way because I'm done being optimistic. I think it's going to be another show of the homosexual gay lobby, you know, power, and they're going to go the wrong way. Now, I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, it's this summer.
Well, it doesn't seem that you're alone in this, because now correct me if I'm wrong, because you've listened to them and you've heard the radio shows and read the articles, but isn't Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, you got was it
Dobson?
Dr. Dobson, and then a few others out there saying the same thing.
Absolutely. So you don't have a tratty Catholic in Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck, but they're exactly saying that what this is all about, the Supreme Court case right now, if it goes the wrong way, what the left wants is the eradication of the Christian moral voice from society. And any sort of Christian moral authority is going to be gone. That's what they want. That's what the Southern Poverty Law Center wants. That's what they're working toward. How is it going to happen this summer? I think it's going to, because I'm always a little bit, negative on these things. Eeyore-ish, sure. The sky is falling. But if it's not this summer, it's going to be soon. And we saw this from Indiana. I mean, what is Governor Mike Pence trying to do in Indiana a few weeks ago? All he's trying to do is protect businesses, Christian businesses or otherwise, from government mandates saying they have to do things that violate their conscience. All he's trying to do is protect them from having to serve gay couples for gay weddings or whatever. And that gets shot down with all the fury of hell from everybody from Miley Cyrus to Hillary Clinton getting on board to Walmart getting on board, roaring against poor Governor Mike Pence. So you can see where appeals to religious liberty are a complete waste of time. Why? Because the left doesn't believe in religious liberty and never has. And they're this close to being able to shut down the Catholic Church for good. And it's not just from the outside. The Catholic Church is doing its own with weak bishops. We're doing damage to ourselves as well. So it doesn't look good, Kent. I'm sorry if that seems negative. It doesn't look good for us.
Well, that's exactly where we're leading to with all this chaos that's going on, in society and Christians, Catholics, on the verge of being persecuted, even more so than we are now. Yeah. It's just like we need to be able to stand up with a strong voice. We need our Catholic media to stand up with a strong voice and start saying something to arouse people, to Catholic men to stand out, to start preaching the faith within their own families. So that people can wake up, because as we got the quote in there, all evil needs to succeed is that for good men to do nothing.
I want every available man on this.
I can't spare anybody, Frank. We're in charge of security for Queen Elizabeth's visit. I'm short-handed already.
Wilma, I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat.
Yeah, come on.
And it seems like we're so asleep. So many Catholics are asleep to the crisis that's going on.
Yeah.
Even within our society and within the church.
Even conservative Catholics, they don't know what to do. A lot of them are afraid to speak out. I mean, you mentioned the Cristeros. I would argue that the biggest difference, and that's only 80, 90 years ago now, in Mexico, the big difference between Cristeros and us is that the Cristeros were Catholic first and Mexican second. We, for the past 2 or 3 generations, have certainly become Americans first and then Catholics second, which means religion is a private thing. That's something we do on Sunday mornings, but we don't bring it into the public. We've been brainwashed into accepting that. So my fear is that when this persecution comes, I'm not sure we're going to have a lot of men that even know how. They're not going to have the drive to want to go out and do something about it. And that's the difference between us and the Cristeros. They went out and fought when they came in and said, when the enemy came in and said, we're going to take your priests, you can't go to mass anymore, we're going to shut down your churches. They went to war over it.
Right.
I'm not so sure we're going to.
Right, because they might have been scared to fight, but they would think that it was the right thing to do.
Absolutely. The soul was important.
The soul is important, but all of a sudden now it's just like we're taught that, it's not so good to stand up for principles. Be nice.
You be nice.
Be nice,
And in fairness,
learn to tolerate, learn to hold back. I know that it's going against everything that you believe, and your soul might, by doing this, you might be thrown into hell, but you know what? Tolerate.
Be nice. Don't be mean. Don't be uncharitable.
Don't do something, you might think might be morally wrong. Yeah. But you have to go along.
Absolutely. That's what they've been telling us for a long time. And so, in fairness, the guys that we're talking about, I'm talking about guys like us, grew up in the 80s or whatever, listening to Van Halen and Styx or whatever,
right.
Black Sabbath. And you know what? They're kind of still doing that. They're still going to work every day. They got their music going. They're just kind of watching the TV at night. They're thinking about the 401k. They're thinking about good things, too, like raising their kids and all that. But they're not aware of what's happening. And I would say that we're very close right now to the way things were in the late 1930s in Germany. The German people are also dealing with economic crisis in their country. Yeah. They're really not thinking that National Socialists, the Nazis, are going to be the monsters that they turned out to be. The same in the Soviet Union. People didn't really think it was going to be as bad. I think we're right on the edge of a similar thing happening in our own country, only it's going to be worse than anything anybody has ever seen. But because we're still just sort of going through our day-to-day and not really paying much attention, we don't realize how close we are.
Right. Well, it's hard to take care of your family nowadays. It's so busy. You got to be on top of things in order to keep keep the money flowing and make the income you are. You got to be good at what you do, and people are focused on that, and that's the right thing. But the problem is that they're keeping us so busy that nobody's paying attention to what's going on.
And at the same time, we've had this revolution in our Catholic Church, which has brought about a very watered down liturgy that a lot of men especially are just kind of like going through the motions. It's like, it really doesn't touch me that much anymore. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I guess what you're saying is they're tuning out.
Exactly.
They're tuning out to their faith. They're not paying attention. When they go to mass, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, let's move on.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
Peace, on eagle's wings and all of that going on. And it's like they're going through the rope. But it's a little dull. And they're not aware of what's happening. I mean, right now we have going on in the Vatican this conference on climate change. I mean, did you ever think you're going to live to see this? We got pro-abort United Nations guys like Jeffrey Sachs coming in and advising the Pope on his next encyclical. And these guys are on record for being all in favor of abortion and sterilization and contraception in order to bring the population down so that the climate can be fixed. And they're advising the Pope.
I just thought that the whole climate change thing was gone. I thought that that the whole thing was laid out to be absurd, and it was done. And I just can't even believe that, like you said, it's the end of the world. Everybody's getting crazy. Yeah. Everybody's just getting loopy. It's just like, with all this going on, like you say, we're worried about issues about we're really talking about climate change, really? When we got Christians being beheaded,
slaughtered,
we've got the U.S. Supreme Court is deliberating over this issue of homosexual marriage, which is a big deal because it changes principles and underlying dogmas within our faith. If we have to start accepting and marrying these kinds of life, accepting these kinds of lifestyles.
Yeah.
It's like, so here leads us to our speaker, our guy that's coming in. Here he saw the craziness that was going on in the world, how it was affecting the church, and saying, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And he starts writing about these things, starts writing about some of the, much like Michael Voris and much like yourself, and about, hitting a lot of these hard and tough issues that are going on. And he was writing for the National Catholic Register, which everybody thinks is fairly conservative. Heck, they even did an article on the argument of the month, and we were very, very happy that they did so. And but here this guy is getting into the hard issues, and they let him go.
Yeah,
and
it's EWTN owned, and EWTN does a lot of good work. So it's not that we're talking about the radical left. We're talking about EWTN owned enterprise.
Love EWTN,
exactly. But Patrick Archbold came out, and he's just a blogger, just a writer, just trying to do his job. And he's just connecting very, very obvious dots about the crisis in the church that we at the Argument of the Month have discussed so many times.
Right.
And that becomes, it's not like, I wouldn't say the National Catholic Register thinks he's dead wrong, or EWTN thinks he's dead wrong. It's that everyone's afraid to talk about these things. The ramifications of speaking about the crisis of the church, which comes all the way from the top down, the ramifications are so huge that people are either afraid or they don't know how to do it. And so they choose to just kind of stay away from it. Concentrate on the life issues, say your prayers, say your rosary, and leave it at that. And don't rock the boat by writing about what's really going on. Well, Patrick wrote about what's really going on and got him in trouble.
But we, you and I have talked so many times. We need our leaders to speak out and do something. We use this analogy all the time. We love the movie. Of Braveheart. And here we've got, at the very end, he realizes that, he can keep going around trying to win these small battles, but really needs the support of the nobles. And the same thing, it's like us laymen can go around and, hold debates. We can go around, try to evangelize, but really, we need the backing of our spiritual leaders. And the spiritual leaders really need to come out and say something. And right now it's at a critical time, and everything seems to be silent. Well, except for a small few, as we've seen. The the Archbishop out in San Francisco, and many others. Cardinal Burke. He's speaking out. On so many things.
Let me just read this really. I hope it won't. If it gets boring, we'll edit this out. But this is Bishop Athanasius Schneider of Kazakhstan, and it speaks directly to what Patrick Archbold, our speaker, is doing. He writes that in the quote, in the very bosom of the church, there are people who undermine the teaching. Now get the bosom of the church. That's inside the church. There are people who undermine the teaching of our Lord. It became obvious fact and one for the whole world to see, thanks to the internet and to the work of some Catholic journalists who were not indifferent to what was happening to the Catholic faith, which they considered to be the treasure of Christ. I was pleased, says the Bishop of Kakistan, I was pleased to see that some Catholic journalists and internet bloggers behaved as good soldiers of Christ and drew attention to the clerical agenda of undermining the perennial teachings of our Lord Jesus Christ. Cardinals, bishops, priests, Catholic families, Catholic young people who have to say to themselves, I refuse to conform to the neo-pagan spirit of this world, even when this spirit is spread by some bishops and cardinals. I will not accept their fallacious and perverse use of the holy divine mercy and of new Pentecost. I refuse to throw grains of incense before the statue of the idol of gender ideology, before the idol of second marriages, of concubinage. Even if my bishop would do so, I will not do so. With the grace of God, I will choose to suffer rather than betray the whole truth of Christ on human sexuality and marriage. End quote.
Wow.
So a guy like Patrick Archbold reads this coming from a prince of the church and says, I need to speak out. It's what he did, and he lost his job for it. And I'm not even saying we should therefore criticize National Catholic Register. I'm saying these are the times in which we live. It's just like Soviet Union or Nazi Germany. If you say the wrong thing, you will lose your position. Right. And so the argument of the month is taking a chance here. You know this. It's taking a chance by speaking things that people don't want spoken about right now.
Right, and that's the thing too. Exactly. We're not here to criticize them. A lot of people are asking why. What's going on? You know, and that's kind of the reason why we have the debates. We want to raise the issues and ask the questions why. Yeah. And try to understand what's going on, because I don't have the answers. That's why I started the argument of the month, so I could bring in people in the know to understand what is going on, to flush out the truth, what is happening. Because even, 10 years, 15 years ago, we still weren't, things weren't clear. There's a lot of ambiguity when we're trying to flush out what does the church really teach here. Yeah, we're getting so many conflicting answers. Like it seems to be growing. Now it's raising to so many higher echelons within the church. And as you said, I just want to make sure that our audience knows Patrick is not a traditionalist.
No, he's not.
He's not a traditionalist.
He's a Catholic
and a blogger. Yeah, a very well-known blogger.
Right.
And if we could mention his blog site. I can't think of it right off the top of my head. We got it mentioned.
Creative on the Minority.
Creative Minority. Thank you. And sorry, Patrick, that I didn't have that in front of me. But he's not a traditionalist, and so I want everybody to get that through their head, that we're not trying to just throw him out there saying, hey, we want to just have this guy argue for the traditionalist point of view.
Whatever that even means.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a Catholic who's saying, hey, I just want to speak the truth as the bishop. Is the bishop, Athanasius Schneider, is he a traditionalist?
Right, and if I all of a sudden start loving, the teachings of my church, because when I say traditionalist, I mean, I'm thinking tradition with a capital T. Yeah. All those things that the saints loved, really believe in the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist, body, blood, soul, and divinity. Yeah. So that means that I really want to act like that is God. Yeah. Is that going to make me an enemy of the church?
Or is it a rad trad thing to think that marriage is between one man and one woman? Because you know what? The far left thinks it's a rad trad to say that.
So in other words, if I really love my God and I'm trying to do what the church teaches and be like all my fathers and saints before me, I'm out of touch.
You're a bad guy.
So that's why it's kind of a little pet peeve with me. We're all Catholic. Let's kind of drop this whole nonsense. So let's give we kind of dove into it a little bit. But do you have give a little bit more background on Patrick? If I know he's starting to write for you now.
He's starting to write for the Remnant, which we're just thrilled about, because what I want to, and I've asked Patrick to do this for us at the Remnant, is not to speak to the trad, contingency. They are who they are, and they already kind of figure out there's a crisis in the church. What Patrick is trying to do now is reach out to the vast body in the middle, which is what we call neo-Catholics, and people get offended by that. I'm sorry, that's not a pejorative term in the sense that you're dumb or your mother dresses you funny or what. It's not an insult like that. It's a reality that we have a whole body in the middle that believes, and I'm speaking in their defense now, in the defense of neo-Catholics, that believes they must be faithful. In order to be faithful to the Catholic Church, they must be faithful to the revolution of the past 50 years. They don't see that there's been a serious revolution in the church. And so, but they're trying to be good Catholics, and that's what we mean by neo-Catholics. We're not trying to insult anyone. It's just that they have accepted a new version of the Catholic faith that was previously unseen. Never in the history of the church did you have traditionalists, neo-Catholic, conservative, Nancy Pelosi, liberal Catholic. You didn't have that. You had Catholics,
Exactly.
which is what we all want to come back to. Dropping the lines like the qualifiers, like neo-Catholic and traditionalist, which are expedient at the moment, but which are unfortunate. And what a guy like Patrick is trying to do is say, "Hey guys, I'm just a Catholic. I'm just saying what every Catholic has always said about what we believe for thousands of years, and that doesn't make me a traditionalist, but I want you guys to know I think you're Catholics just like me. Let's stand and defend the church, the teachings of the church." That's all he's doing.
Right.
And he has the ability, because he's been blogging for a long time, to reach the blogosphere. And I hope we get some bloggers to come in for this event.
Absolutely, exactly. It's like that's a tradition that I hope that we can start. We'll kind of kick it off a little bit here in May this year by bringing in Patrick, who's a very well-known blogger.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like you said, get a lot of bloggers to come in. Guys, come in and ask the questions. Here's an opportunity for you to get out from behind your
computer screen.
Yeah, get out from behind that computer.
What do you guys look like? Come on, we want to know.
Come on down and
Inquiring minds want to know what you look like, bloggers.
In person. You are a person. Come on down and hang with us, and get up there and have the courage to put yourself on the spot. You'll be live. We'll edit you. Don't worry. We'll edit you.
Well, what happens at the AOTM stays at the AOTM. Let's not forget that.
So you got a chance to ask some tough questions.
Well, that's something we should bring up. I mean, we really want it. We have some neo-Catholic, quote-unquote, neo-Catholics, obviously not tradies, on the board of the AOTM who will be there. And they're going to be asking some tough questions. They're friends of ours. We're going to be asking some tough questions of Patrick Archbold. That's the whole idea. Have a good discussion.
You're one of my veteran moderators, David Devil. He's been with us for a long time. Dr. Steve Moore. We've got Michael Olson. You guys all come from different backgrounds. I have to keep these guys from arguing with each other too much. Killing each other from sometimes.
Go ahead, make my day.
That's what we do. It's just like I wanted the differencing of opinion and truth be known. I'm hoping to change people's minds over the course of times and bring us all to
the truth.
Orthodox, Catholicism.
Yeah.
Just what are the teachings of the church? Stick to the true teachings of the church.
That's right.
That's what we really want. We all I think for the last 15 years when I've been talking to different Catholics and different men, we just want to come together and believe what the church teaches.
The guys that show up at the argument of the month are men who just simply want the Catholic faith. They want to know what they're supposed to believe.
Give me an answer. Make it clear.
What do I have to believe? What is it? Just tell me the truth.
Exactly.
That's what makes it so unique, because you have guys from all over the place. Traditionalists, more liberal, more conservative, but they all want the same thing. What does it mean to be a Catholic?
Yep. So Patrick's going to get up there, tell his story for about 40 minutes, give a presentation, and then we'll have some of our moderators then come up, start hitting them with some hard questions.
We're going to grill.
We're going to grill the blogger.
The brave blogger that comes in person.
You told Patrick this, right?
Sucker. I hinted at it.
Right.
He knows now, I suppose.
He knows now. It's only got 2 days.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't cancel on us.
No, maybe he's probably too busy. He won't watch this video. So anyway, so he's going to come in. We're going to go ahead and put him up against some tough, hopefully get some real nice, tough questions from people who honestly disagree with Patrick.
Yeah.
And that'll lead us, kind of prep us for our Q&A. So that's when the bloggers, our audience, will be able to kick in with some more questions right after dessert. So I'll give you the timeline here. It's like we're going to open up the tent outside at 4:00 with appetizers, beer, and then cigars outside. And then at 7:00. We'll have prayer. Father will say grace, and then we'll go right into dinner. And again, the menu is smoked Jamaican jerk chicken, and then we've got some pulled pork that has also been barbecued, and then a bunch of great roasted veggies on the grill. And then mushrooms, onions, all kinds of stuff.
Do we have a mass this week? I don't know.
We cut the mass out
because
we started early, and then we didn't want people being outside eating appetizers and stuff like that, and then trying to go to mass.
Well,
and so we
the
just
traditional
cut it
mass
off.
is available at noon anyway, so they can always go to that. Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay,
if they can
good.
get to that one early, I was talking to Father Brennan and seeing if he could do some sort of keeping in the spirit of May. Our Lady Help of All Christians, because of
Cool.
here in
Cool.
May we've got that devotion started because of. What was that? Lepanto?
Well, it's
The
all
Battle of
connected, sure.
Lepanto?
Yeah, relying on Our
Okay.
Ladies. We need this more now than ever.
Exactly, exactly. And there's a few other battles that it was tied to. I think
Mm-hmm.
even was the Siege of Vienna.
Sure.
what was
We're coming back to that same sort of thing. If you notice, the only religious people who are really advancing are the Muslims at the moment,
right.
while the Catholics are all receding. So
We need to have some conviction, guys.
Yeah.
Is I guess the point. We need to. That's where we're kind of going here. The argument of the month is really trying to help men wake up and understand that. The time for being, a lukewarm Catholic is over.
Yeah.
You need to embrace, because whether you embrace it or not, your life is probably going to be threatened.
Mr. Guapo, I'd just like to say that on behalf of the three amigos, we're very, very sorry. We'd like to go home now.
Don't you want to die like dogs?
Well, if there's any way of avoiding that part of it.
yeah, they're
Unless
they're coming for you, whether you want to acknowledge it or not.
And maybe it's not your life, but maybe it's your job.
Yeah.
I know a number of friends have told me that they're scared to let people know that they come to the argument of the month because the people in charge at their work might not appreciate them coming to the argument of the
No, I
month.
mean this isn't a weird conspiracy. All the conservative people now, newspapers, bloggers, they're all on the hate maps of the Southern Poverty Law Center and all of that stuff. They really do want to silence Christians. I mean, if you want to just stop being a Christian de facto, just be quiet, you'll probably be fine. But if you want to exercise practice your Christian Catholic faith, 10 years from now in America, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, can we, if enough Catholics get together and actually start living their faith?
Oh man.
Actually start believing in their faith? Can we turn the tide? And that's kind of the question that we're asking here. We got a guy that's stepping out, trying to live his faith, say what he thinks is right. Coming up and addressing the tough issues, and he's being stopped.
That's right. That's right.
And maybe not even because the register really wants to be, but because everybody's under pressure.
That's
but
right.
what do we do when we get under pressure? We gotta. I think Catholics need to take a hard look, and I ask all of our leaders to take a hard look and say, what are we going to do? We have to answer to God. This is our time.
Yeah.
What are we going to stand?
The Catholic Church, the infrastructure of the Catholic Church is still basically intact. I mean, we are selling off a lot of our churches to Muslim groups, granted, but still, worldwide, the infrastructure is still there. If enough, especially men, come back together, start really taking hold and owning the Catholic faith again, it isn't a wild theory to think, well, maybe we actually could turn this around. I think the enemy worries about that. The enemy worries about men coming together and becoming Catholics again, because we could change this. We could turn it around.
Yeah, and we're not talking something violent. We're talking something just living your faith.
Become
voting
Catholic again.
Voting according to your faith. Living your lives, just your everyday simple lives, and not settling for mediocrity.
No, if you're at a Catholic church and they got puppets walking around and women all over the place and the priest is up there, oh, good morning, our entrance antiphon is on 127. If you got that when you're going to Mass, stop going to that church. We have options still. Conservative liturgy, traditional liturgy. Go to it. Move on.
Yeah, if you go into a church that is not professing to believe in the body, blood, soul of divinity of the Eucharist, go somewhere else where they are, and it's clear. It's not vague, and let's not be splitting hairs. Well, they're not changing doctrine, but they're not showing it in their actions.
Yeah, we're losing our kids because we stay in these places that no longer are Catholics. But thanks be to God, especially in America, there are a lot of conservative traditionalist options now in major cities all across the country. We need to take advantage. Father Eckert, our spiritual director, is one of them. Offering the traditional Mass, offering Orthodoxy, still has a Catholic school, grade school, where he gives Orthodoxy to the kids. It's not unthinkable to think we can do something about this, but we need to come together.
Right.
And that's why Patrick's going to come and tell a story about what we all basically need to do something like that. Take a stand up. And, he's thrilled to be coming in because he all of a sudden got very lonely for a while there. The AOTM, the remnant, like, hey, we're with you. And you can see what will happen, I think. He's an example of what can happen if you do the right thing. A lot of men, I think, are going to be emboldened. They're going to I'll suddenly find they do have a backbone, and we can stand together. And hopefully that's what's going to happen this evening. We're going to make people aware of that. Don't be afraid to stand up and be Catholic.
Right, because you're in good company.
Yeah.
If you're standing up trying to be Catholic.
Absolutely.
I mean, Mother Angelica, I think you could argue, did exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, was anybody going to criticize Mother Angelica? I mean,
right.
Sweet lady trying to really just promote loving Christ and the church that he founded. Yeah. I mean, that's why we want to. We love the church because it's what Christ instituted.
That's so
it's
funny.
the teachings of the church. It's like everybody, It's so frustrating. We probably shouldn't go into it. We're probably already at our 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm sure we are. But this is so much fun. This is so much fun. And Mother Angelica, it's funny you should bring that up because you remember when she went back to her old habit. Mm-hmm. It was the same kind of thing Patrick's doing. Where one day Mother Angelica just shows up on the set and she's in the old traditional habit. And you could see she was saying, I've been had. They were playing games with us, and I fell for it for a while. I'm done. And so what does this little nun do? Like you say, she goes back to her old habit, and she builds an international television network, and really an empire, because people gravitated towards that. And we need to do the same.
Right, and that kind of makes me think of something else. And I know we're running a little long, but one of the beauties that I see of the argument of the month is that I feel like with all the camaraderie that's building there at the argument of the month, if Christian persecution comes to fruition here in America, men are going to need to be upheld. Men are going to need those bonds.
I'll do this. I'll go walk the scaffold if you will. I don't want to do it by myself.
Well,
and you're like, dude, you don't have to die, man. Come on, just apostatize.
Hopefully it doesn't go that far. I'm really hoping. Hopefully it's just, maybe economic persecution. Maybe you lose your job or something like that.
Keep thinking, man. Maybe that's all it'll be.
I'm trying to be optimistic here.
Because history shows that's all it ever was.
Right. Yeah, I know. Was it John Zemerick? He doesn't think so.
No.
And we had that fiasco there in Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the Cristeros hanging from those telephone poles or those telegraph poles, they lost their job.
That might be good homework for the men for the argument of the month before they come in. Yeah. Is that they should watch the Cristero movie for greater glory.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch that.
Take a look at the future.
Yeah. And maybe even try to find Christopher Check's talk on the Cristeros.
Yeah, absolutely.
And listen to that talk. Listen especially to what leads up to the persecution of the Catholics in Mexico, because one of the greatest scenes, I think, that really makes you think in that movie is when, was it President Calles? Is that the right name? Yeah. President Calles says, well, I was elected. And Catholics elected him into office.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And now they're being hung from flagpoles or telegraph poles.
Yeah.
Something to think about, fellas.
Yeah. By the way, we're not depressed. I mean, this is not like negativity.
No, we're being preventative.
It's optimistic, even though it looks like the world is really, really crushing us right now. Christianity, the Catholic Church, will never ultimately be crushed because our Lord promised that it wouldn't be. We're not giving up on it, but we're saying there is a human element that needs to get into gear.
Right, and you need to be prepared. If we can't, it's like doing our best just at every moment, and whatever comes. If it means that we are able to turn the tide, great, because men are starting to live their faith. If it just means that we're able to, uphold our brothers and help each other through the persecution that's coming, well, then that's the benefit also.
Right. But we need to have the conversations right now. Because imagine if everything does go as badly as we think it's going to. We're going to look back and say, why didn't we do anything?
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't we get the men together? Families together.
Yeah, we'll be wondering, why back then, why didn't we just speak out? Why didn't we say something? I don't think any of our men want to live with regret, saying, what if I could have done? And that's another good question is, people are going to ask us.
Yeah.
When they see us in the future, our children are going to say, well, what was your role? What did you guys do?
Nothing. Kept my job,
I was listening to Van Halen and going to work, man. Putting money away in my 401k. Did what I could.
Might as well jump.
Exactly. Might as well jump. So, again, great conversation again,
this
Mike.
Is fun. We got to do this more often.
We'll probably continue to have the conversation, but we'll let you guys go, and hope to see you again Tuesday, May 12th, at the next argument of the month. Remember, 4 o'clock. We'll begin outside with cigars and appetizers. And
it's going to be great fun. Come on down.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming to the garage, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.